Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Sumedha from IRL Biotutor. Today in the video I will talk about function of the heart, the functional heart. In this tutorial I will discuss about cardiac cycle and conducting system and about the blood pressure. Their basic principle. This will very important in biology. Basic principle of the functional heart. When I talk about the conducting system of the heart, it is a system that generates the on impulse, on electrical activity. Heart is the it has a pump, and the pump action is done by same cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscle get the electric impulse. You call it a conducting system. There's a specified conducting system in the heart. So this impulses, the electrical activity, sometimes it is controlled. There's a control of this electrical activity influencing the sympathetic activity will increase the heart rate, and parasympathetic activity will decrease this intrinsic heart rate. As we know that there's a intrinsic activity of the heart. The heart, it has an intrinsic activity. With that heart there's a intrinsic heart rate. That means there's a normal heart rate, and with the sympathetic activity it will increase, and so that it will decrease with the parasympathetic activity. And also with the hormone of just like adrenaline and thyroxine hormone, the heart rate will be increased. When we talking about this conducting system, basically you can divide this system into 5 parts. SA node, that we call sinoatrial node. The other one is a AV node, that is atrioventricular node, and the other one, the system, that is bundle system, you call it atrioventricular bundle, or otherwise bundle of His, and the branches you call them as a Purkinje fibers, bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. So it's like a system. So you have two nodes and a system of branches. When you talk about the SA node, the otherwise is the sinoatrial node. It is the pacemaker. It is the pacemaker. So it is situated in the myocardium. It is situated in the myocardium of the right atrium, near the opening of the superior vena cava. We know that superior vena cava opening into the right atrium. At that near that place, SA node is there, and this will stimulate the heart contraction. This is the originate of impulse. So impulses are originating in SA node. Basically, that is the main place where you have the impulse. Here you start in the impulse, the intrinsic activity of the heart, and that will initiate the heartbeat. And SA node set the rhythm of the heartbeat. So you have a definitive rhythm for the heartbeat, and because it is starting or initiating the heartbeat and it will keep in the rhythm of the heartbeat, we call it a pacemaker. So pacemaker of the heart is SA node. So you can call it like that, SA node. And the heart rate can be varies. It can be varies in the situation. This heart rate varies in can be due to stimulation of the autonomic nervous system, and so basically sympathetic nervous system will be increase in the heart rate, and also as I said parasympathetic activity will decrease heart rate sometimes, and adrenaline, thyroxine, those hormones will increase the heart rate. And also if you increase the temperature also is a reason for the increased heart rate. Then we talk about AV node. AV node AV node is the node. It's a cell mass that is situated between left atria and right atria. The wall of the left atria and that is in the between left atria and right atria, the wall. And this will transmit the electrical signal from atria to ventricle. That will take the signal from the SA node, that signal coming, impulse coming from the SA node to AV node, and this from the AV node it will go to the fiber system. And the other part is the atrioventricular bundle. Other name for the is bundle of His. Bundle of His. So this will have also branches. So you call it a Purkinje fibers. Bundle of His, and the other branches you call it Purkinje fibers. So it's a mass of fibers. This atrioventricular bundle and Purkinje fibers is a fibers. So it is originate from the AV node, as you know that SA node is there in the right atrium, that is near to the superior vena cava, and then the AV node at the wall between left and right atria, and starting from the AV node you have the atrioventricular bundle, and this atrioventricular bundle, that his bundle of his will divide into two as right and left bundle branches, and these left and right bundle branches will give rise to some kind of branch system. You call it a Purkinje fibers, and because of this fiber system, the impulses that coming from the AV node going to the apex of the heart. That means the whole muscles of the myocardium get the impulse. So with the AV nodal impulse going through the fibers, it will simulate the contraction of the ventricle. Because of the contraction, there's a pumping of the blood through the aorta and pulmonary artery. So this is the conduct. Okay. Now we will talk about the cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle is what is happening inside the heart. So one cycle means in one complete heartbeat. So we know that heartbeat we represent it like lub-dub. That one complete cycle we take it as lub-dub. That toot sounds you get the heart, as you know that we take it as a heartbeat. So in that one heart complete cycle, so at that moment, that what happened in that complete cycle, you take it as a cardiac cycle. So in the cardiac cycle, there are the blood is coming to the heart, and also blood is going out from the heart in one cardiac cycle. So for the one cardiac cycle, so all sequence events, it will take 0.8 seconds. That means 72. We take it for a 1 minute, 72 heartbeat normally. That is the normal heart rate for a normal adult person. That is, we take it as a 72 like. So basically for 1 minute 72 mean it will take 0.8 second to the 0.8 second for a 1 beat. So in a 1 beat, that means in a 1 cardiac cycle, you will have 3 consecutive events. Atrial systole, that means that contraction of the atria, and ventricular systole, contraction of the ventricle, and the other one, last one, is a complete cardiac diastole, that means relaxation of the atria and ventricle. It's like that atria contracted, then ventricle contracted, and both the atria and ventricle relaxed. That is called complete cardiac diastole. So we know that in normal situation you call that as 72. That is basically you get it as a 60 to 8 beat. That is normal situation for the normal person. And in one cardiac cycle, the volume that coming out of the heart is called stroke volume. That is stroke volume. In a single contraction, the amount of blood pumped by ventricle. In the ventricle, the amount of blood going out from the ventricle. You call it a stroke volume. And the other one is, this is another important point in function of the heart, that is electrocardiogram. So there's an electrical activity of the heart. This electrical activity we can't directly measure it. So what we are going to do is we put some electrodes that's placing on our chest and limbs, because we know that body fluid is a good conducting system. That therefore we can take the electrical activity of the heart as record in the monitor. So you call it a electrocardiogram. This recording, you call it electrocardiogram. So in an electrocardiogram, so ECG, or otherwise you can keep it as a EKG, ECG or EKG, there are 5 waves. So P wave, Q wave, R, S and T. So how the P wave is coming? This is the impulse that coming from SA node. The impulse is coming from the SA node and it will go into the atria. Impulse coming from the SA node and that sweeps over the atria. There you have the depolarization. Getting the call before the contraction, there should be the impulses getting that impulses getting it called atrial depolarization. Basically, you can take it as the actually it is happening in the before the contraction of atria, but you can take it as a contract with the contraction of atria it is happening. And QRS complex, that is the place where your impulses going from AV node and throughout the ventricle. This is electric activity. This in the QRS complex, that is QR is three waves. All these you call a QRS complex. So throughout the ventricle and the ventricle system, it's going to the ventricle muscles. So we have impulses going from AV node to throughout the ventricle system. You call it a ventricular depolarization. That moment you have the impulses getting to the ventricle and starting to the contraction. So basically, you can take it as the ventricular contraction because as the depolarization is there, you got the contraction. But basically, it is not happening at the same time. But you can take it as minimum difference is there. And in the T wave, that is represents the ventricular repolarization. That means again you get the normal situation for the ventricle, and this will show as a relaxation of the ventricular muscle. The relaxation of the atria is not represented in the QRS complex because that is happening at the same as the QRS complex time. So we'll have P, QRS complex and T. So this is the figure. So P wave, QRS complex and T wave. So basically you can understand it like atrial contraction or otherwise atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization and ventricular repolarization. That is the T wave. And last part of the tutorial, I will discuss something about the blood pressure. Blood pressure is the force. So that pressure exerted by the blood on the blood vessel. You call it blood pressure. We know that fluid can exert pressure inside uh, the container. It's like that blood will exert pressure throughout the blood vessel. So there's a normal limit for the blood pressure. So if the blood pressure is more than normal range, you call it high blood pressure, and this will lead to clot formation, and also there may be damage of the blood vessels. And if you have low blood pressure, that is what the normal blood pressure, it is not the normal, and it is decreased. So there may be inadequate blood flow. So there may be less blood to the brain, heart, or kidney. So we know that uh, with the pressure, if the pressure is reduced, it will reduce the blood supply to the special organs like brain, kidney, and those places. And the blood pressure will be varies according to the time of the day, and also posture. Whether person is supine, or that means that sleep or getting upright, stand or sitting. That is depending on the posture, and also gender. Because of the age, blood pressure will be changed, and activity of the person, exercise, and also emotional state. You call it stress. If the person is having some mental stress, that means excited, you will have difference in the blood pressure. And according to we talk about the blood pressure will be reduced in rest, and also this will lower at sleep. And excitement, fear or anxiety, blood pressure will be increased. Why? Because we want to get some more blood to the specific body. And when we talk about blood pressure, we are talking about two pressures, systolic and diastolic. Systolic pressure is the pressure at where you have the pressure that coming from the left ventricle. If the left ventricle is contracted, that blood pushes through the aorta. At that moment, the pressure is exerted at the aorta. You call it the systolic blood pressure when the left ventricle is contracted. Normally, it is about 120 millimeter mercury. And the diastolic pressure is the blood pressure within the artery, blood pressure within that aorta following ejection. After the ejection, that after blood will go into the aorta and pulmonary valve will be closed at that moment. We have discussed about the structure of the heart in my previous video, so you can refer the structure of the heart and how the uh, part of the heart is there. And so the when the blood is going out of the heart, that is the when the heart is diastolic, that is when the heart is relaxed, that pressure is the diastolic pressure. And in normal situation, the rest diastolic pressure is maybe 80 millimeter per mercury. So we can measure the blood pressure with the using of sphygmomanometer. So we are writing it like that: systolic pressure and diastolic pressure, and 120 by 80 millimeter per mercury. Thank you.